Hi folks, this is Rose from In Rose's Garden, and today we are going to work on some snowflakes. So let's turn down and I'll show you what we're going to do with these. I think you're going to enjoy it. So here are some snowflake blanks. I have 3 different sizes. This is the smallest size at 3 3¾ inches. There's a medium one at 4½ inches and a large one at 6. Now, I am probably going to use, for this first one of the smalls. I have 2 packages of small, so I have plenty of small. So we'll open up one of these packages of small. There are 8 pieces in one of these bags, and they are definitely make it a lot easier to make a snowflake. You can make a snowflake yourself by using wire, but it's much easier if you use one of these blanks. So let's get these out of here. Well, if they are going to release, boy, they're in here good. And we'll just take one of our snowflakes here. And I have all kinds of beads here beside me. I will probably not use these on this size because, well, I might. You never can tell. You don't want to use too horribly big ones because then you really stand out. So this is what the blank looks like. It's got 3 legs to it. You want to leave at least this much on the end for wrapping, because you either need to do a simple loop here or a little spiral, something to block your beads from coming off. So what we want to do is, the first thing I always do is I get some tiny beads for right in here, because they're going to bump into each other if you don't use tiny ones. I usually use a seed bead or some such thing as that. Here's some little clear crystals. These will work. I do have some seed beads beside me, but these crystals are just the same, more or less the same size as a seed bead. So let's see how they sit on here before we decide we want to go straight with these, or if we want to get some little 11 seed beads as well, or maybe 8s, either way. Now, see how they pop each other up there? Even this tiny one is a little bit too big. So we're going to get some little seed beads. And I think we'll go with, I should have some white ones, I think. If I can find them here. I do have white ones here, but these are 6s. These are bigger than I want to use. Okay, I didn't get bicones, but I did get some even tinier little crystals here. So see how tiny these guys are? I think these are probably 2s. But as long as they'll fit on the wire, that's all we want. Now see how much smaller that is? We should have no problem having one right beside it. Oop. See, even so, they're butting up to each other pretty good. So now, I'm probably not going to leave these on here unless I go on further with this particular pattern, because they'll fall off as we're working. But see how they're now butted up against the wire more or less, because I use this really tiny size. Now, if you don't mind if they don't butt up against each other, then you can use a bigger size here at the middle. No reason why you can't. I just like them to go all the way up. So as you can see now, as I push them in, They're all pretty much right there in the middle. Now you can do now I've got an option here. Do I want to now put this crystal on, or do I want to put something else on instead? Like a different color crystal. Maybe a green or something, because we're doing a Christmas one. I do have some little tiny greens as well. So, but I'm not sure what we want to do here. So, I'm going to think about it a minute. I may go to some pearls. And then again, I may not. So I have decided to go with blue fire polish to go with my little crystals here. And I've got some spacers. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut these, and we're going to start going up here and see how well they work. Actually, I have some smaller spacers than these. I might prefer those. Okay, I think at least part way we're going to use some of these little tiny spacers, especially right here against these crystals. And what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to go a tiny spacer here. And then one of these slightly larger crystals. I think these are actually 4s, possibly. Okay. Now we're going to cut the smaller of these, which is this little blue, off of here. And then we're going to go little blue. Now see, the other little crystals are starting to slide to the end of their bars, and that's fine because we can take those off. We're not going to be worried about them too much right now. So I'm going to just take those little guys off. I'm going to use one of the bigger spacers right here. And then we're going to cut this bigger, slightly darker blue off here. And put it on here. Then one of these, another one of these little light blue ones. Whoop. Now, normally I would put that other one on here, but I think we're at that point where we probably should think about, let's see if I can get that little one on too. So there's our pattern that we're going to use. And let's see if we can get this wrapped. So what we want to do is take this and roll it. Now, this is stainless steel, sort of like memory wire, so it's going to give you difficulties. It's just the nature of the beast. It's going to want to not roll so easily. Okay, that had plenty of space to do that, so that's good, because I have got the loop just about all the way around. There we go, I think. Not quite. And I'm going to do like I would a simple loop and bend this right here and bring this down all the rest of the way if I can. And it doesn't really want to come around, does it? But it needs to, because it's got this tiniest bead at the bottom, and If it doesn't come around, then it will try and escape. So we have to get it to, there we go. So there's our first arm done. Now all the arms are going to be done the same so that they're identical to each other, like so. So we'll just go on. I notice this little one's still on here, so we'll just go to that leg first. So now you can use any color beads, any size of beads. I prefer to use, well, like I say, I always try and get my, oops, knocked my beads off. I always try to make sure I use the littlest one that I can use down here in the bottom, so that they will not be leaving a gap there. Now, I can tell you that if you don't have these really tiny crystals like I'm using here, the other option is to use a seed bead, like I originally was planning on doing, and then bicones. So with a seed bead, even a 6 and a bicone beside it, it leaves a little bit of space there, which makes it quite a bit easier to work with. Come on, where's your hole? There we go. Now you can use memory wire pliers on these if you on the loops if you have some and you want to try it. It's not what I wanted. I wanted one of these little guys. And they will work also. Oh, and that is my main problem when I'm making these snowflakes, is that I unintentionally drop everything off like I just did, because they will do that because of the weight. They're trying to take its weight to the bottom. So excuse me, I have a slight cold. Oops, that's the wrong one. I want this one on here. Oops, appear to have scooped up a kitty cat hair. Okay, now before I drop this again, let's get it winding. So, now you don't have to have all of, all of your legs to be exactly the same if you don't want them to be. Oh, I got this loop a little bigger than I wanted it because it's hitting the crystal. Okay, there's loop number 2. And like I say, you don't have to make these exactly like the lengths, the legs. You can change them to anything you want them to be. I personally like them to be all the same, but just because I do doesn't mean that you do. You don't have to do anything. Like I say though, my biggest thing is to get those tiny crystals or something small down at the very bottom so that they take up the space down there and don't leave a gap. And that is my only real thing that I really like to have done. Now, when you have these loops done like this, you can always hang dangles on them if you want to. I never do, but you can. A pretty crystal hanging down from the bottom one, like a teardrop or something, would be really pretty. But another thing that is definitely a preference for whoever is making the snowflake. Oop, dropped my spacer. Okay, I thought I had another teeny tiny one here, but it looks like no, so I guess we'll pull a few more out of here. Oh, there it is, right there amongst my metal. Now, the only thing I wish differently about these is that these little, there we go again, knocking things off, that these little little arms were a little easier to bend. Now that's one thing about if you do make it yourself, the wire piece yourself, rather than buying a blank, you can use like any gauge of wire, and it is much easier to bend. The only problem then is that it also requires that you use my memory wire pliers. For some reason they always seem simpler when I'm using stainless steel like this. Right into the crystal again though. But if you make your own, you do have to make a little like spider web in the middle to do your spacing. Are you going to go past that? Nope. Good. So now we have it half done. Now we just have to do the other 3 arms, and then I'll show you how to make a hook for it. Looks like I ran out of this size, so we'll have to get some more of these out. Okay, now we'll just, like I say, we'll just keep going on the arms exactly as we have been until we get our 6 arms finished. And as I said already, if you don't wish to have your arms to be identical, you don't have to. It's entirely up to you how you string your arms on. And Just because I like my arms to be the same doesn't mean that you like your arms to be the same. So, oops, come on, baby, go on. So, here we go with arm number 4. Now, like I say, I'm going to use my memory wire pliers to wrap these up because for some reason it's easier. Now, I almost did not give myself enough room here. As you can see, it wants to be biffing this little crystal. So I am going to do this. And for some reason, when you bend it back like that, you give yourself some more space. So. This one doesn't want to come in all the way. Okay, when I was trying to tighten that one down, I broke the crystal off. So we'll have to see if we can fix that later. Right now, I'm going to go on and do the other 2 legs and see if we can get it. Oh my goodness, I broke the bottom one too. It looks like there's not one here. And I know I put it on. Huh. Well, that leg wants to be very difficult, obviously. So we'll go on with the other legs and then see if we can repair that one. And if not, we're going to, I don't know what I'm going to do. We'll decide. It's funny because all the other ones are all right. I mean, they're close, but they're there and they're all right. Well, actually, this one looks like the little crystal might be broken here as well. So maybe I'll be naughty and just snap those crystals off the end and not put them on anymore because obviously they are too close. And sometimes that's the case. I was debating putting them on because I wasn't sure if I would have enough room, and obviously I don't. So I'm not going to put this one on here, and I will probably snap them off of these other ones because this one is cracked anyway. If you look, you can see it's only half there. I can probably easily break it myself really easily. I hate breaking crystals. They're beautiful and I don't really want to break them. But sometimes that is the best thing to do for something. So let's get this one down here. And see, that one fits so much better. So I'm just going to finish breaking this one, sadly. I don't think I can get these off without breaking them now. I can probably unwrap this strand, but we'll see. This one I'm just going to break because it's already broken. Oh, I forgot about the wire, the spacer here. So we'll just knock that off. And now we're going to just wrap this one. Wow, this leg seems to be bigger than the other one because it has the same amount of beads, but it looks a lot tighter. Strange. Now let's put this last one on and we'll see if we can fix these others that are, well, they were cooperating, but, oops, dropped it. There we go, it's right here. Now last one, and then we'll see what we can do about fixing the others that are not giving us any problems. Okay, these two are fine. This one appears to have, oh, it's in there, but it might be broken. No, it's this one that is missing the everything. So let's see if we can unwind this. Tricky, tricky there. Sometimes you can. Let's see. It's missing everything down here, so we're going to have to see if we can get this as straight as possible so everything can come off and we can put a new tiny crystal down there at the bottom. We won't need this. This fire polish doesn't like this last little bend here. Let's see if I can get some of it out. Okay, now we need to see if we can get a new little teeny one down here at the base where this one broke off. There we go. Now you don't want to pull these apart like this very often because the wire actually can break. It doesn't happen often, but it has been known to. Oop, come back here, you. Now we want to try and roll this back up, and then we will open the other two enough to hopefully take off the little pieces here at the end. And that should be all we need to do with these. And if we can get this open just right, it will come and just slide over. Now this little guy's not going to do that. Come on, little guy. I really hate to waste a crystal like this, but we may have to get this guy back off so that our patterns are the same. There we go. Now we'll roll this. No, I didn't say you come off. I need you on there. Now we'll roll this guy back up. This one may have to be rolled a little more because for some reason it was fine with where it was sitting at. So yeah, everything's in there as it should be. So now we just take this one and get this last little bit off so that we all match up properly. Now I did have the option of breaking this little guy. I could have. But I don't like to waste a crystal if I don't have to. Let's see, now we wrap this guy back up because we got off what we wanted off him. Now I think they're all about the same. There we go. There's our little snowflake. Now, as you noticed, we need to leave about ½ an inch there at the end to wrap our little wrap. Otherwise, it's going to give you all kinds of trouble like it just did me. And there is our first snowflake. So now that I've finished the snowflake after arguing with it for a little while. This first one I've made in a little while, so you know, it's going to argue with you a bit. I have got out a piece of 18 gauge wire. Now, you might be asking me why I've got 18 gauge wire out. And let's see how long of a piece I got. It looks like about 3½ inches. Probably don't need that much, but I'm going to make a relatively good sized loop here. So we're going to take and we're going to make a simple loop on this side by just rolling this round like so. Take our pliers and break in the neck. Now that we've got that done, I'm going to take and my wire mandrel, and I'm going to want to make a loop on this guy. So like so. And then I'm going to bend it over this way so it makes like a hook. So like so. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my pliers again and I'm going to wrap a little loop on this side. It doesn't need a loop. This loop is actually more decorative than anything, and as you can see, my loop is way bigger than I want. So I'm going to cut this little piece where I put this loop here off. And then we're going to do a new loop here on this end. Come on, let go. Now I'm going to take my wire mandrel and again bend this down and around. So now we have what looks to be a little hook. Now if you didn't want this side to be so long after this, you know, for it to hang, you can also do and cut some of this side off as well if that's what you prefer. In fact, I'll show you. Just take and put your cutters in the middle of your loop, cut it. Take your pliers and again remake this loop. Now it's up here. Okay, now take these and again break the neck so that it's facing downwards like so. There you go. And you can put your flat nose pliers in there and make your loop more definite if you want. So this is just 2 simple loops, and those 2 simple loops are simply to make our hook. And now all we need to do is open up the bottom here like we would any simple loop, grab and put it on one of our loops here. There we go. There's our hook to hook it onto our tree or wherever we want to hook it. All done. So there is number 1. Very simple. Now if you want, like I say, you could make a dangle and put a dangle down on the bottom here or on any of them. I wouldn't put them up on these because then they'll hit this one, but you could put them on these 3. In fact, if you want, let's just make one. Since we've messed up a lot of stuff anyway, let's just make a dangle for the bottom here. And we'll just do it as one of these guys with one of these and one of these guys. So I'll get a silver head pin. This one will be fine. It's a little small. It's a smaller 2-inch one as opposed to the 3s that I usually use. I'm not even sure that's 2. It might just be 1.5. So get the and so we've got a little dangle there, and we can make it and just put it right there on the end there. So we'd make this dangle just like we would any dangle, and we'll do a fold over, grab our bell making pliers, up and over and around, bring her down and around, leave a gap because we're going to just hardwire this little guy right onto this loop down here at the bottom. Just like so. Grab hold of our wires and wrap them up. Trim off the excess. And tuck her in. And there we have our little dangle at the bottom of our snowflake now. Wasn't that fun? So there is our snowflake. And I rather like it, even after all the battle I had with it. Sometimes you just gotta do battle. But I think it turned out very pretty. I like its little dangle. I hope you enjoyed making it with me. I think it's been a good time. And I think she turned out quite nicely. So anyway, there is our finished snowflake. Isn't it cute? This pretty little dangle here. Now this, as I said, was the small size. For comparison, here's a medium-sized one. So you can see that this one is much smaller than this one. So, but this is the one that we just finished making. Isn't it pretty? Now this one does have a hook, but it does not have a dangle like this one does. And like I say, you can leave the dangle off. Obviously, I have no dangles on this one. Or if you wish to have more dangles, you could put them on these two bars as well. And that would be pretty. But anyway, this is a pretty little light blue one. Sort of reminds me of ice, isn't it? So there is our finished snowflake. Hope you enjoyed making this with me. This is Rose from In Rose's Garden, and we might make some more snowflakes later. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.